On today's show, Martin Osterdahl is good to go, but might Belgium and San Marino be following him out the door? We're taking a look at the big stories that made the headlines during our hiatus and discussing what all of this means for the future of the contest. I'm Stephen Perkins and this is Douze Points.
Hello London, we are ready for your vote.
Hello and welcome back. It is Monday 11th of August and we are back from our post-contest hiatus, refreshed and re-energised, as I hope you are too. For the rest of this year we're going to be back on our off-season schedule, which means you'll be getting a new episode from us every 2 weeks, unless any particularly exciting breaking news comes up and we can't wait that long to talk about it. As we haven't released a full new episode for nearly 3 months, I thought it made sense for our first show back to be taking a look at everything that's been happening in and around Eurovision while we were away, and we'll be getting to that in just a moment, but first, a quick reminder that we are honoured and delighted to be part of the Eurovision podcrawl this summer. If you've missed all the excitement about that, let me recap quickly. A group of Eurovision-themed podcasts have all got together for a project where we're all releasing individual episodes under the unifying theme of a year when a country hosted the contest for the first time. ESC Insight got the ball rolling with a look at the Cannes contest in 1959, then the Wind Machine podcast tackled Vienna 1967, the Eurowhat podcast went to Zagreb in 1990, Neil Poix visited Riga 2003, and the most recent episode has just gone live from 12 Points from America, taking us to Brussels in 1987. Still to come, that Eurovision site will be taking us to Copenhagen in 1964, and then I will be joined by special guests Adrian Bradley and AJ Clay for a look at Baku 2012. To check out the other episodes on the podcrawl and explore the other participating podcasts in general, follow the link in our episode summary to visit the podcrawl linktree. Okay, shameless plugging out of the way, let's get on with the news. Indisputably, the biggest story of the last 3 months has been the announcement that the contest's executive supervisor Martin Osterdahl will be stepping down this summer after 5 years at the helm. I'm going to start by reading out the statement from Martin Osterdahl that came with the press release, and then let's talk a little bit about what this might all mean. From day one, I was inspired by the contest's unique potential and power to unite people through music, never more so than in 2021 when we brought Eurovision back live to millions around the world amid a global pandemic, demonstrating the resilience and spirit at the heart of our community. I am immensely proud of the changes we've made to modernise and strengthen the Eurovision Song Contest. These include establishing the permanent digital platforms that have brought millions of new fans to the contest. The ESC is now an event where hundreds of thousands sign up to buy tickets, a show watched by hundreds of millions, connecting with youth audiences worldwide, and stands as a unique platform for overnight global success for artists and songwriters. My overall involvement with the ESC is now approaching a period of 20 years in total. It has been the honour of my professional life to steer the world's largest music event, developing the contest as a global super brand that brings joy to more people than ever before. I am deeply grateful to the entire ESC community, and particularly to the ESC core team, participating broadcasters, artists and fans for their passion and support. First of all, I think it's fair to say that although Martin Osterdahl's tenure at the top hasn't exactly been an unqualified success, he did come in at a pretty unenviable time. The 2020 contest was meant to be the handover from Jon Ola Sand to Martin Osterdahl, and of course that contest didn't happen. And by the time we got to 2021, we were still dealing with COVID protocols, travel restrictions, the possibility that a positive COVID test might mean that an act couldn't perform live on stage, as we saw with Iceland's Daffy or Gagnimanith, ultimately needing their rehearsal footage to be shown instead. It's not a situation that anyone would want for their first time in charge at the contest, and he does deserve his flowers for the fact that the 2021 contest went as well as it did. But before anyone accuses me of being an Osterdahl cheerleader, there were definitely changes under his leadership that I don't think have been good for the contest overall. Some of them fairly trivial, like the adoption of the United by Music branding, originally brought in for the 2023 contest to reflect the United Kingdom hosting on behalf of Ukraine as the permanent slogan of the contest, especially given the irony of Malmö 2024 being one of the most bitterly divided contests in recent years, and this year's show in Basel attracting its share of controversy as well. Equally, I don't think the decision to make the semi-finals 100% televote has been good for the contest either. I can understand why the decision was taken after 6 national juries, those of Azerbaijan, Georgia, Montenegro, Poland, Romania and San Marino, were dismissed following voting irregularities in the 2022 contest that smacked of a deliberate attempt to rig the outcome of the semi-finals. But I do think it's led to a change in the tone of the entries in recent years, where everybody is frantically competing to be the most attention-grabbing entry in the semi-finals to secure their share of the televote and qualify, only to then have to play by different rules in the final when the juries are part of the equation again. And given that we've had some increasingly questionable results in the televote as well as the juries in recent years, the system that we've got right now seems far from foolproof. But I am rather digressing from the point here, which is that Martin Osterdahl's stock as executive supervisor was never really going to recover from the mess of 2024. The contest was already a tinderbox given the participation of Israel, when many of the contest fans, and indeed quite a few of the participants, felt that they should have been banned because of their genocidal action against Palestine, and the contest responding by clamping down on any attempts at solidarity with Palestine only served to heighten the tensions. By the time the Netherlands' Joust Klein was disqualified following the backstage incident with a member of the crew, it was very clear that the management no longer had control of the situation, and as the executive supervisor and public face of the contest, Martin Osterdahl was attracting the majority of the criticism. It was particularly embarrassing for all involved that host broadcaster SVT had prepared an interval skit that year for the grand final, involving Sarah Dawn Finer as Linda Woodruff singing a song in celebration of Osterdahl, which went down predictably poorly on the night, considering that the audience was booing loudly every time Martin Osterdahl appeared on screen. It was assumed by many, including me it has to be said, that he would be stepping down after 2024 due to his position becoming untenable, but instead the EBU decided to restructure the management of the contest, bringing in Martin Green in the new role of ESC director, with the understanding that the executive supervisor role had simply become too big for one person. And while the 2025 contest arguably did go a lot smoother than its immediate predecessor, although really, how could it not, his on-screen role was significantly reduced to avoid a repeat of the previous year's embarrassment. So the news of him stepping down at this point doesn't come as a huge surprise, but it's also probably not the big dramatic act that it may have seemed at first. Reportedly his contract was due to end in 2026 anyway, so he's just brought the end of it forward a little bit, and the reality is that his departure in itself is unlikely to actually change a lot. The executive supervisor role is, after all, more about the successful execution of the event itself rather than setting the policy of the institution of Eurovision Song Contest. However, there is still some hope for change, because the people who are setting those policies are the member broadcasters and the ESC reference group, which has also changed hands in the last few months and is now headed up by Spain's Ana Maria Bordaz. That feels like an appropriate segue into some of the other headlines that have come up while we've been away, because there were apparently some very serious discussions taking place at the EBU's General Assembly last month, including the continued participation of Israel in the contest. Obviously this all took place behind closed doors, and there are varying reports of what was said, but it appears that the prospect of Israel being removed from the Eurovision Song Contest was debated, and that had it gone to a vote, the likelihood is that the vote would have gone against Israel. But apparently the BBC intervened to prevent a vote taking place and suggested that further discussion was needed. So it seems that no decision has been taken for now, but the matter is also far from resolved. Meanwhile, the repercussions of the 2025 contest, and in particular the questions over the legitimacy of the televote, continue to rumble on. Several broadcasters have requested an audit of the televote from their country, though it appears that the request from Norwegian broadcaster NRK was denied by the EBU on the grounds that releasing the data could make it easier for people to manipulate the vote in future editions of the contest, which is rather missing the point, if you ask me. In the meantime, we find ourselves with other nations and broadcasters currently taking the same position that the Netherlands took in the aftermath of the 2024 contest, where they don't want to commit to participating in the next one unless they get some kind of commitment to decisive action from the EBU. At present, Belgium's RTBF, the French language broadcaster whose turn it is to organise the Belgian entry this year, in the agreement that they have with the Flemish language VRT, where they take charge in alternate years, has gone on record to say that while they are beginning their selection process for a representative as usual, they have not yet officially confirmed their participation in 2026, citing their ongoing concerns about the voting system and the lack of transparency from the EBU. Likewise, San Marino is refusing to commit to a presence in the 2026 contest for now, with Roberto Sergio, the Director General of San Marinese broadcaster SMR TV, saying that he would like to see the microstate continue in the competition, but that they also have concerns about the voting process, adding that he feels smaller states are unfairly disadvantaged in the contest. On the face of it, the threat of a tiny country like San Marino with a patchy track record pulling out doesn't feel like a huge threat to the contest. However, they're exerting pressure in the best way that they can, by making their concerns public and calling for action from the EBU at a point where the EBU won't want any more negative publicity. Multiple nations expressing a lack of faith in the voting system is not a good look for the contest, and also, the EBU probably doesn't want any more countries pulling out. The last 3 years have seen 37 countries competing, which is a significant step down from the record of 43 set in 2008, 2011 and 2018. If we got to the point where perhaps 3 or 4 more countries dropped out from the number we have currently, we're getting to a stage where having 2 semi-finals starts to look unsustainable. And with a lot of the countries who have previously left the contest being unlikely to return anytime soon, either due to being banned or sanctioned by the EBU, financial issues at the broadcasters, or a lack of interest from the viewers, and a lack of new countries looking to join the countries for the first first time, it's in the EBU's interest to hear the existing countries out and keep them on side. So this is the best time for the likes of Belgium and San Marino to get their grievances heard. And one other scandal-related headline that came up while we were away, the mayor and mayoress of Nice have been questioned in connection with the embezzlement of public funds for events, including the Junior Eurovision Song Contest 2023, which was held in the city. Broadcaster France Télévisions confirmed in a statement that they would cooperate fully with the investigation, though it's currently unknown whether this is likely to affect France's participation at this year's event in Tbilisi, Georgia, on 13th of December. I think that's enough scandals for one episode, so let's try a story that's only controversial if you have very deep love for the concept of internal selection. Austrian broadcaster ORF have announced that they will be organising a national final to choose their entry for the 2026 contest. It will be the first time that they've done this since 2016, when they used the show Wer singt für Österreich to send Zoe to the contest in Stockholm with Luan DC. Stephanie Gross-Horowitz, the programme director at ORF, has promised a big TV evening with lots of audience participation, so make sure to keep space for it in your viewing calendar when the time comes. Finally, it's expected that on 20th of August we will find out where we are heading for the 2026 contest. Although a number of Austrian cities and municipalities expressed an interest in hosting, ultimately the only two to submit an actual bid were Vienna and Innsbruck. Vienna is generally viewed as the most likely option and would bring the 6-year streak of the contest being held outside of capital cities to an end. But could Innsbruck pull a surprise victory out of the bag? We don't have long to wait. Okay, that's just about everything. All that remains to say is a huge thank you for listening, especially for coming back after our long break. It means so much that you take time out of your day to listen to this podcast, and I really do appreciate it, so thank you very much. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe on your podcast platform of preference so that you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. And while you're on there, if you'd be willing to leave us a glowing review to help us negotiate those algorithms and charts and reach more listeners, I'd be eternally grateful. I'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode, and I hope you will join me then. Until next time, good night Europe, and good morning Australia.